right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Larry Weidel, who is up in lovely Aspen, Colorado, and it's snowy, a little bit snowier than here, that's for sure.
Hopefully.
And Larry, you're a distinguished sales executive investor and business advisor, and you've overseen more than $6 billion in assets under management. Founder of Big Hitters Community, a high-performance network designed for ambitious leaders and entrepreneurs who are aiming to scale to the top 1% through mindset mastery, strategic insight, and elite habits. So you also host the Big Hitters podcast and are the best-selling author of Serial Winner. Okay, and that's what we're going to start talking about today. First of all, what's the origin of the Big Hitters community? What made you decide to create that?
The Big Hitter community came from basically from, first of all, being introduced to the concept of the community, the value of community, in an interview with the founder of the Mighty Networks group, which is Gina Bianchini. And as you and I have known, most of us, we come up through the ranks. We have people that are mentors and great leaders, and we take notes from them. So you think that's where you get all your stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, in fact, John, I had a serious cycling accident. I'd done, in addition to my business, as a way of keeping myself, my short attention span occupied, so I could do, to stay inspired and refreshed. I've always done a lot of other things, and we got into horses because that's one thing the family would do together. And so, I wound up doing show jumping with horses for about 16 years, even against, competing against even Olympic riders and horses and all this. It's the most fun I've had in my life. Unfortunately, the most brutal form of bodily punishment. And so I've been kicked in the head and the, hematomas and clavicles and ribs. And, the thing is, it's almost,
ever get a refusal and being sent forward over the fence?
Thank you very much. And falling 12 feet over the top of the horse and then have them, fortunately, they're very nimble, and that when they come crashing down, their feet avoid you because they don't want to have a broken leg too. So, but anyway, crashing the ground like that. But when I had my body said, okay, that's it. When I had my cycling accident in the middle of Palm Beach in, I don't know, whatever it was, 08 or something. And it was like head, again, over the handlebars, they put in they snuck in a little curb there, and right in front of the police station, by the way. And so I hit it about 25 miles an hour in low light. And my buddy said, okay, that does it. And so, I swelled up my all kind of internal injuries. They couldn't give me a pill or surgery to fix. So I just kind of had to live through it. And sitting on the couch, I realized, hey, I've been the recipient of a lot of input over my life that you should pass this on. So that's where I wound up getting on Twitter and Facebook, and eventually blocking out about 50 or 60 books that I would eventually wound up writing one. And it did well. But the thing is that, you try and find ways to reach people. And in my mind, I was a recipient of all of this great stuff because of all the gurus I've been around. And a lot of industry leaders, billionaires, and it's like, lucky me, fortunate, if I hadn't been around them, and you think about the things they told you. But then in talking with Gina, she made me realize, but a lot of the stuff that we learn, actually you learn 80% of the things that matter from people that are right next to you. You're kind of going through, they're sitting in the same room as you, you're in the hallways talking. And that's why at big events, most of the breakthroughs happen out in the hallways. And that's why when you run big events, you like to run them where there's a 2-night stay in there if you can, because in the first night, everybody's kind of awkward getting used to each other. By the second night, they're kind of comfortable in the hallways and everything.
Yeah.
And they're, the life changing discussions and the deep questions come in and they open up. And so it dawned on me how many, like, wait a minute, some of the dumbest people I've known over my life have given me some of my best insights.
Yeah, it's amazing who your teachers end up being when you reflect back. Some of your greatest
Yeah.
teachers. Tell me, in your book, you emphasize cycles of winning. How does that concept help, say people in your community?
Well, the deal is that I was not even aware of that, John. Life it's funny, and the more we learn, the more we know that what we don't know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing about origin of life. Now you hear this origin of life, and we've proved we know how life works, and the truth of it is they're more in the dark than they ever were. The search for origin of life started in 1953, and with every breakthrough, they found out how much more they've got to figure out.
Hmm.
And it's and then I think God's checkmate on origin of life was DNA when they discovered. Oh, wait a minute! The instructions are written in the strands. Okay, that does it. And so the more we learn about things, the more that's why it's fun talking to people like yourself, John, because you've talked to so many experts
Hmm.
and you come up with ideas. And what happens is because of your exposure experience and uh, mileage, basically, things that are said stick to you
Yeah.
because you've heard, it's not like you've heard it for the first time, like, oh wow. It's like you've heard it 400 times or 40,000 times. It's like, wait a minute, there's a new side to this I hadn't thought of before.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And
Yeah.
this is actually even more powerful than the other 40,000 things that I knew about that. It's like that's
Hmm.
why you and I can talk endlessly on goal setting, time management,
Hmm.
priorities, a balance in your life, problem solving, management, leadership, things like that. And because there's so many layers to it. And so what I found was that in the, uh, I've always done, I've I've never been great at figuring things out myself, but I've always been great at copying, leaders, and learning from people who'd figured it out. Because I figure, why not ask them? They already know. And so
Exactly.
why I've never understood the guy who was so pigheaded they wouldn't ask for instructions, or directions. I'll figure it out. Why? Why waste the time? So anyway, I got out there and got in a habit a long time. I started in construction. You know, I
Right.
I came up. I was very competitive. I didn't care what I did in life, but I wanted to be in the higher end because I knew the people in the bottom got the worst treatment, worst
Right.
pay, and
Mhm.
had the worst life. And so I wanted to be on the top end of whatever I did. And from sports, I learned winning's better than losing. And
Yeah.
so, I wanted to get into something where you could compete and have fun and get big rewards and you have that adrenaline of accomplishing things flowing through you on a daily basis. I didn't care what I did, but I wanted it to be something valuable I could feel good about, get excited about, but mainly compete and win. And so I started and I won't go the whole thing, but I
Mhm.
wound up. I always had an artistic bent, and I wound up in studying architecture because I couldn't find a role model to follow to make that a career in art or photography, painting or photography. So I
Mhm.
went in architecture, and after 2 years, I found out that was a drag because there's more education and delayed satisfaction than
Right.
even being a doctor, in
Right.
architecture
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
40 years old. So I said, I'm going to get out of, I was at Georgia Tech. So I said, I got to get out of this place, but I'm not going to flunk out. I'm going to get out with a degree. And so I got out with a degree in building construction, got my real education building 100 houses in, managing people,
Mm.
delegation, team management, leadership, taking charge. You had to be in charge.
Yeah.
You're the only one people look at. They don't know about all your subcontractors and all the excuses on supplies and then
Mhm.
yada yada yada, inspectors, yada yada. why is that house not ready? I've got my 18-wheeler out here. We just moved from Kansas City. My kids are getting in school in 2 weeks, and that house needs to be ready. So you learn about responsibility. And the only thing was, I also learned what a crappy industry construction was. That
Right.
the residential real estate, the up
Oh,
and
yeah.
down, you're totally dependent upon the economy.
Yep.
And I said, if I'm going to work 80, 100 hours a week, I'm going to be in something a little bit more reliable. And
Mhm.
so I asked around, I said, what was the one industry that survived the best during the Great Depression? And they said, financial services. And I said, sold. I'm going to find something in financial services. And the only regret is that nobody ever mentioned in my ear hedge funds.
Right, 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 right.
I, I wish somebody, I grew up and I graduated high school on Long Island, and you'd feel like somebody would have mentioned hedge funds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
To
exactly.
me.
Because you
Eh,
probably Long Island, you probably throw a stone and hit a hedge fund manager.
right. But anyway, I got into sales and financial services, and part of a company that was on the way up with buy term and invest the difference, doing planning for middle income people, and we just kind of revolutionized that industry. And I was able to kind of recruit and train and open offices because of my experience with subcontractors and all the stages you have to put people through or the house through to get it built. You have to
Mhm.
depend on these people to get the thing done. So
Mhm.
that very, very valuable experience. And so, you learn things from being on the ground, but I also, most of it I didn't know. So I learned
Mhm.
there's always somebody who knows something that
Yeah.
and
Why
so if
why
you
is it
ask
that
them, they'll
yeah,
tell
what
you.
yeah, why is it, Larry, that more people don't do that? Because, I mean, either it always kind of, amazes me, like, I mean, I always tell people, like, when I got my first executive level position way back when, I hired a coach. I paid a lot of money at the time. I thought was paying a lot
Right,
of money. To reality, what it paid me back over the
right.
years, it was nothing. But even if you don't do that, even like as you said, reaching out to people, other people who've been successful, how come that so many people never do this?
They don't really want it that bad, or they're not in that hurry to do it. The
Mm,
thing is that all the information is out there it's free, especially now.
yeah.
But the deal is, and they will tell you. If you're listening to the YouTube or the uh, LinkedIn or everything, the gurus tell you what they do,
Yeah.
and they'll give you their best information. They'll give you their best stuff, but they give it to you in a jumbled sack, disorderly, random version,
Yeah, yeah.
because what they're trying to do is draw you into an organized program that you would pay for.
Mhm.
And you can learn, you can start here and you can move through things sequentially. And that's what I found out in writing the book about winning. I didn't know what I was going to write about, and this and the other. I got to the end of it and I said, wait a minute, this is a cycle. It's a
Right.
cycle of success. There is a beginning, a middle, an end, and a rinse and repeat thing. And a lot of time we go through our life, we're just trying to solve the problem in front of us. And if you have a systematic approach to attacking everything you want to do in life, the beginning, middle, end, how you
Mhm.
launch it, and uh, it's it just puts you in a position to where you can move through it so much faster because you're not reinventing everything on the fly. And
Yeah.
so, what happens is when you want, it's the way I look at it is like this: when you want to do something great with your life, but you're not in a big hurry to make that happen, you listen to YouTube, you buy
Right.
the books, you're on the thing, and you're curious, and it's entertaining to you.
Mhm.
But when you're saying, okay, I got to make money now. I've got kids, I've got a family support, or I'm in a situation where I just can't take it anymore. I got some time deadlines. Now you want to get systematic. Okay, how does this start? What comes next? And you start putting it in an order.
Mhm.
And everything in life, if you're going to be successful at it, you got to have the fundamentals down. It's the fundamentals that you
Yeah.
learn will not make you successful, but they give you the foundation to stand on. It's
Yeah.
always what you do with the fundamentals that allow you to be successful. And that brings me back to the community,
Mhm.
because we provide an environment, like a hothouse environment
Yeah, yeah.
where we can bring them along step by step. You have your fundamentals, your ideas, but you have an environment where people are going through the same process. And it could be from any walk of life. Like somebody could be a landscaper, somebody could be a musician, somebody could be, whatever, a chemical engineer. But the thing is, if you have projects you're in, you want to do something great with your life, there's processes you have to go through. And
Mm.
all of these things matter. At the top, all of us, like if we had a group of us that do podcasts, with high
Yep.
achievers and everything, and we were writing a combo book, it'd be amazing how much we agreed on. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because the discipline of doing thing at a high level where you have to get enough of the right things done in a 24-hour day sequentially, day after month after, week after month after year, and how you have to organize yourself for success. Not a lot of variables in there. You're going to
Yeah.
kind of come into a disciplined type approach, and so that's what the a community allows. Take
Yeah.
people who want to compress time frames and allows them to kind of make magic happen in a shorter period of
Yeah.
time.
And you were saying like, they could come from all different type of backgrounds and
Yeah,
different types of things. Is mindset the common denominator?
it's
Is that the like the starting foundational point?
mindset, mindset and heart. The
Mhm.
heart and the mind. The heart
Yep.
comes from, the thing is, really it starts inside of us, John. I don't know why in the world you had the desire to do whatever it was that caused you to get in front of the mic. And now, way all these years later, you've built up this legacy, this business, this brand, this reputation, and influenced so many people. I do not know where that came from. You can't. That's a mystery. But
Mhm.
there is no mistake. You had something inside you that drove you forward to get you to this point. And so
Mhm.
I don't know what's inside people. I don't know what they want, but I know there's
Right.
something because everybody wants their life to count. Everybody's got a seed of greatness inside of them. They don't have a seed of mediocrity. That's what
Mhm.
they sell. They have a seed of greatness. Every kid, uh, you know, and all you got to do is look at the kids. They want the designer clothes. They want the
Yeah.
designer shoes. They want, if they see, the night, everybody wants the nice stuff. And so
Yeah.
quit. The thing is, quit. That's not the whole secret to life, but it just
Sure.
shows people want the great side. You see people living in a nice house, neither, living on the great vacation. They're like, well, why not me? Why not my family? Why can't my kids have that kind of stuff? So it's the whole deal is like, why not me? It starts there, then it goes
Mhm.
in. It's like, why am I here? Why are they there? Then your mind goes and you start to unravel it and you start to move towards the direction that's going to cause you to feel fulfilled and
Mhm.
satisfied. It just matters how driven you are to make that happen. But actions always start in the mind, and that the mind is driven by what's in your heart,
Yeah.
and that you give yourself permission to pursue.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, you don't see kids or anybody coming up saying, don't get me the designer stuff. Get me like the mid-range stuff.
Yeah,
It'll be all right. That'll be
right.
fine. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. We just want to get by. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, so when these, when they have the right mindset and the heart, the next thing is obviously open to, as you said, open to systems, because not everybody, process and systems, right? Not everybody is naturally, are naturally well organized, naturally, are process orientated or systems in their thinking. How do you help those folks like get over that hump? Maybe most people can do it. Some people have a mental block with
We all start off as unwashed heathen who have no idea how stupid we really are. You know what I'm saying? You know
it.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
that's
thing.
the great thing about developing some self-awareness, maybe even later in your life, that at least you know how stupid you are at that stage.
Right. I was always in our business, we always had a race to move people up through and out of the training center so they could get their own location. I said, I want that as fast for you as fast as possible so you can find out how stupid you really are. Because when you come into my office and where I'm paying the bills and I do the training and I run the things and I run the contests, it's easy to sit back there and criticize and
Mhm.
and this we should have done it this way. I wish you'd done that. But then when you're running it, now you start to realize what's entailed in making things happen. And so when we all happen, we're all undisciplined,
Mhm.
and that's why people are not, they make bad choices. And so you got to start to move towards the light because we
Mm.
all start in the dark, John. We
Yeah.
start in the dark. And we move towards the light of the things that we're curious about, that
Mhm.
catch our attention. And you want to start moving toward, and as you start moving toward it, you start stumbling over the things that you didn't see were there. Like, oh, and so like you and I, if we
They're
had
stumbling over the bodies that didn't make it.
right, right, of all the dead bodies that went before us, and the thing is that if people would get around you and I for a day, they would say, "Wow, look how productive they are." Why did they do that? They're just having them around, not even talking to them, and they just see how we move through the day. They say, "Wow," it's like, I can't believe this. For us, it's just we're just getting things done, and they'll come in and they'll say, and I'm sure you've heard this, "Wow, what a genius." No,
Yeah.
you earn the right to have someone call you a genius because you're making thousands, if not millions, of mistakes, and then you learn where the bodies are. You
Yeah.
learn where the potholes are. You learn where you stick your finger in there, that'll get chopped off. And so it's experience and mileage causes you to move efficiently through life. And but when we start, we don't know, because we're just that's what learning is all about. And that's why being in a program can help you because you can get people that are on the same path. Say, watch out for that, watch out for this. Whereas a great guru on stage doesn't have time to point out the 400 little gotchas. They're talking about the big picture things.
Yeah. No, I mean, martial arts is my thing, my what I like to do. And one of the things that people don't understand, and ties into you, is you do your color belts, and that's really just learning about the thing.
Yeah.
When you get to black belt, you haven't arrived. You haven't arrived. You have earned the right to be a student.
Ah, ah,
That's where the real learning
yeah.
begins. And I think the same thing, here is, when you get to that point, you earn the right to start to be a student. And if you recognize, as you said earlier, the more you learn, the more you realize you have to learn. And
And that points out the fact
yeah.
that how the humility
Hmm.
of when you're on the way up, you feel like people at the top they're very arrogant and
Yeah.
not they may act that way because they've got so many people trying to get their attention and they're just
Hmm.
they just have to stay focused. However, when you get close to them, you find they're just the warmest, nicest people in the world because they've had so many failures just like you. you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
and
yeah,
they
and as you mentioned earlier, I mean, about teachers and lessons, and it's amazing how when you do look back over your career life, you suddenly realize that some of your best teachers were either people who you don't like, and they did something to you or
right.
whatever, and you like have carried all this like anger or whatever, and then you suddenly realize one day, actually, I should be reaching out and thanking them.
Right. It's right. Because you didn't know it at the time. And
And
they
I had that and actually, Larry, I'll tell you a quick story. I had that happen with somebody years and years ago, a company I was running, and I had to let go somebody in Australia, right? And was not happy about it. And I explained at the time why I had to and why I thought this wasn't the right fit and everything.
right.
And fast forward about 10 or 12 years, probably only a couple of years ago, I suddenly see I'm tagged on a post on LinkedIn from that person. And I'm like, oh no, what's the
Yeah. Yeah.
and actually said, I have to thank John because at the time I was very angry and later on, but then I realized that what he said to me was true. And it actually, and I went on and now I found what I really want to do. And now I have to thank him. And I've been angry all this time, which was amazing, to be honest. Like, but
Yeah, and it's great. You know what I think, John?
Mhm.
I think that there's tons of those people out there that we never hear from. But
Yeah.
I've heard a few like that too, like in the
Yeah.
grapevine in the same community that comes back through that, you know, because you let them go and you're letting them go because look, it's not working. It's
Yeah.
like let's rather than try and beat a dead horse and try and make it work for another year, if we wind up hating each other,
Yeah.
let's just call it quits now. And I'm sure there's a place that'll be a fit for you. It's not here right now. Let's leave friends. And they've still, like as Donald Trump said, I can remember 15 years ago, he said, I fired people gently. I fired people giving them nice compensation.
Mhm.
I fired them abruptly. He said he went through the whole way. He said one thing is always the same. After they're gone, they hate my guts. So,
Yeah.
so the initial reaction is that they're
Mhm.
going to hate your guts no matter what you do. However, if you handle it the right way, they may come back and say, you know what, that worked out to my advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. So what if somebody's thinking now of maybe starting a business or going out there and do what would be one piece of advice that you would just give them, right? If somebody just stopped you in the street and said, "Hey, Larry, like I'm thinking of starting my own business."
I would make sure it's something that you're really excited about.
Mhm.
And I would make sure that you have people to follow and to follow you because the more focused you are, the more excited you are about what it is. It's a genuine thing.
Mhm.
Then you're going to be yourself. And then you're going to have the energy to overcome the speed bumps on the highway. And you're not going to feel. And the other thing is, John, you and I, we run into so many problems and everything, but everybody does. And
Yeah.
so the thing is to be grateful, because we wouldn't be here if we hadn't had people help us, God show us things,
Mhm.
make divine intervention to work things out for you. The thing is like, I would say get in line with the purpose your creator put in you when you were born. You're not an accident. You're not someone who is irrelevant. You are very relevant. You're important. And you need to know this: the world needs more high achievers.
Mm.
Whatever it is inside you that you want to do that's great, the world needs that.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
you need to feel like what you're doing is you're important, and it's important that you do that and get yourself on track where you can feel like you're in line with the universe and in line with what the creator. And
Mhm.
so you put yourself on a path where good things can happen to you
Yeah.
and progress can happen. And so that's the first thing, get the starting point right is what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, absolutely, absolutely, totally agree. And let's face it, I mean, we really need to rebuild the middle class and get people upwardly mobile again and
Right.
everything. So we need people out there driving that.
Yeah. That's
And
why I wish you had like 40 million people listening to you. We need that to happen. They need that encouragement. We need a million people in the big hitter community. All
Mhm.
of these
Yeah,
10 million or whatever, it probably never happened. But I mean, this is a need, this is a worldwide need.
yeah,
And so it's, you think about opportunity in the world, the opportunity to do big things is wide open.
yeah.
Where it's crowded at the bottom.
Exactly,
It's not
exactly.
it's not crowded at the top.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, listen, thanks, Larry. Thanks for dropping so many fantastic insights on our audience today. All of Larry's information will be below this video. But before we go, do remind people about what you do.
Yes, I have a podcast called the Big Hitter Podcast, and where I give people a little taste of what we do inside our community. But my primary focus, because I've been doing this a long time and I don't have that much, I've got a lot of obligations, run a lot of companies. And so the time that I put into this, personal development with people is, primo, it's where I want the biggest results for me
Mhm.
to see the results and them to see the results. So that's why I do it inside the community. And so, I do have a book, I do have a free podcast. If you want free, I have a free newsletter and a free podcast. If you want to pay a little bit, I've got a book, serial winner. But if you want to get serious, take a look at joinbighitters.com and get in with the gang of people that are moving up faster. And they got the intent of winning and making great things happen in a shorter period of time, having the greatest year ever right off the bat. So,
Yeah, perfect. And my last comment is, and I say this all the time as we get back to, is if you're not prepared to invest in yourself, like, I mean, who is going to? And
right,
second off, I often say is take a look at yourself, right? You have a hobby, probably, maybe you play golf, maybe you're up in Aspen, maybe you're an avid skier, and you take lessons and you learn,
right,
but that's never going to put bread on your table. So why
right.
aren't you investing? Why aren't you putting some of that money and investing it in your actual career?
Absolutely. That's absolutely the truth.
Mhm.
And, you know, the word, yeah, people have money.
Yeah.
You don't need, if you don't have money, you don't need to be doing the things like this. It's like you need to get to work and get to where you got some money. But
Yeah,
when you got some money, you need to think about investing in yourself. And
absolutely.
and so, John, I'm looking forward to some more big hitters joining us. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely, Larry. So encourage you to go check it out. If this sounds like you, go. I mean, what is it? That old saying is like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second
Right.
best time is today. So there you go. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks again, Larry. Thank you for watching and listening. And I will see you all again very soon. Thank you.